Hello, you are listening to EYE on Sci-Fi podcast, the podcast where we share with you terrific indie, science fiction, and fantasy online short films, web series, and other closely related media. We also, on occasion, have conversations with the talented creators who are producing terrific indie speculative work. Thank you for joining me. I am your host, Rod Faulkner. This episode, I'm going to share with you a pretty unique time travel science fiction film. Now, first, I have to admit that time travel narratives in science fiction are not my most favorite. I find that the majority of them tend to get bogged down in the minutia of trying to explain the mechanics of time travel in that particular narrative, and it ultimately makes the story convoluted, confusing, and headache-inducing. But that is not the case with this next project. The name of the short film is The First Time I Never Met You, and it was written and directed and also stars Eric Kole. Eric Kole stars as John in the film. John is a physicist, and when the film opens, we see that John is in the throes of grief because his wife has just succumbed to a terminal illness, leaving him a widower with a young daughter. However, John is obsessed with achieving time travel, and when he succeeds, he travels back in time to the moment when he first meets the woman who will soon become his wife. Now, I can't give away more details because it would spoil a pivotal plot point in the short film, but let me just say that this film is a cautionary tale about probably why we humans should never achieve time travel. And let me assure you that by the time the final credits roll, this film will leave quite an emotional impact with you. What I love about The First Time I Never Met You is that it focuses on a real human story. It is not concerned with how John achieves time travel, but that he does, and what the implications and fallout could be if we as human beings actually achieve time travel and travel back in time into our own past. And let me just say, again, this short film is not only well shot and beautifully written, but the acting is superb, especially by Mr. Eric Kole. This short film is a testimony to the vision that independent filmmakers can bring to often well-trod genre tropes by infusing them with fresh perspective and also originality. And you will find that in spades in The First Time I Never Met You. Of course, a link to where you can watch the film will be included in the show notes. Also in our show notes is our link tree that will take you to many of our presences online, including our home website, theseventhmatrix.com, where we have curated a host of outstanding independent science fiction and fantasy online short films, web series, and other closely related media. And we also have quite a few interviews with the talented creators who are producing some pretty terrific indie speculative work. I also need to ask you to leave us a review and rating wherever you get your podcast, because that does help others find us. And then finally, we also need to ask for your financial support, because without it, we would not be able to do the work that we do here on EYE on Sci-Fi podcast and over at theseventhmatrix.com. And trust, we appreciate all of this a great deal. Again, thank you so much for joining me this episode. And until next time, remember, take a break, escape the mundane, and enter the fantastic. Take care.